Good evening, viewers, and welcome to the Art with World. I am your host, WAHEED. Today, our guest is Madiha Arsalan. She is a distinguished poet. She is a painter. She is also a co-founder of Lead Links Group, which runs and organizes various literary activities in Islamabad. And she is an essayist and columnist as well. Welcome to our show, Madiha.
Thank you so very much for having me. Humbled.
How are you?
Just the way I was before.
Well, your first book of poetry is Bhado, and
That's my debut.
I think we're just 1 month short of that Bhado season.
I think it has started early. Climate change. COP28.
Yes, that's true. And I think you were traveling somewhere in last month.
Yes.
How was that trip?
I wanted to go out and have good time, but the weather was as hot and as warm in Turkey and in Georgia as it was over here. But in Georgia, evenings and mornings were cooler. So it's a yearly affair. I do take a solo travel every year, but this time I took along our children. And I think I did the best thing because they've grown up and they guided me instead of me guiding them.
Good.
So I had no responsibility. I gave my wallet to the elder one, Muhammad. He had the credit card and they would Google up the ways and how to get here and there.
Yeah.
So yes.
So you were telling me Konya was the place which we wanted to go in Turkey.
Yes.
So did you go there?
Yes. After Tbilisi, which is just an amazing tourist spot. It's much sought after right now because of food, the culture, the hospitality, and they have made it so receptible for the tourists, and it's a very safe city. So
Yeah.
one should go to Tbilisi as well, Georgia. Konya has been on my mind for years.
Because of Mola Room?
Yes, of course, you guessed it right. Of course, Maulana Room and Shams Tabriz and of course Alauddin Kekobabad and all the historic sites and sounds and the mosques and the culture of the Sama and Malangs and everything. I think it was written in my destiny. Just 15 minutes were left for the tomb of Maulana Room to be closed, and I reached just 15 minutes before it.
Well,
and
15 minutes are not enough for
No,
that.
it's not. And lifetime is not enough.
No,
Lifetime is not enough.
Oh.
But those 15 minutes, what the experience I had was quite mystical myself. I mean, I thought that me and Maulana were there. That's it. And I would admire the quietude, the respect that the Turks give to all these tombs and to all these Maulanas. There was no hue and cry. There was no running around, loud talking. They were all quiet, very respectful. They would not put their backs towards the grave, and they would walk backwards. They would
So did it inspire you something to write new poetry, or?
I have written so much about Maulana.
Okay.
Just before going there, I wrote Shab-e-Urs, which is the death anniversary of Maulana, but it is celebrated as Shab-e-Urs, the meeting, the wedding of Maulana. So I've already, compiled that, and many others.
Coming back to you are a multi-talented artist. You are a painter. I have seen your sketches which you have used for your poetry book as well, and essayists and columnists too. But first, let's take poetry. In general, your interest in art and literature, what was it which inspired you more, maybe in your childhood and later stage? Books, those you might have read and those have inspired you. Other persons you had interacted with, they might have inspired you, or anything else which helped you discover the poet in you?
Okay, to start with, my Dada Abba long ago passed away in Patna, Bihar, India. He composed poetry and beautiful poetry, and his takhallus, poem de noom, was Talib. So my mother keeps on telling me that I got it from him, so it runs in the genes. Well, and I always keep on telling her that educationist runs in my veins. But then our teachers, where I grew up, how I grew up, our school, the patronage of my father. I'll start with the school. So in Karachi, my school was Begum Amna Majid Malik School. And we are very well aware of Begum Amna Majid Malik because she was Mubori Behen to Faiz Sahab.
Really?
Yes. So from the very beginning, our grooming started with interaction with these people. Saad Khan was a frequenter, Ellis Faiz was a frequenter. Faiz, but at that time I was not old enough to recognize. Then Gulji was a frequenter, Fatma Suraya Bajia was a frequenter. Our chief guests every time at the school were people related to art or science. They were never politicians. So, you know, growing up with such people, listening to them, looking at them with awe, and the school hall, the PECH's school hall, has huge murals of Saad Khan. So as a child, my eyes would grow wider looking at them. They were so awe-inspiring. Then, you know, learning from Mrs. Ghanshyam, who was a classical dance teacher at our school. Then we having a compulsory music class once a week, a dance class once a week in the school. All this, you know, helped me to get more and more sense of literature. And these personalities actually, you know, they were so true to their words. That was the inspiration.
So tell me some interesting events you might have in your memory about these personalities you have just mentioned. Maybe Faiz Sahab or Saad Khan.
Faiz Sahab was usually either in jail or he passed away too early for you know, for me. But Ellis Faiz was always there. And I was one of those students who was always in all the extra co-curricular activities. So I would sing, you know, Faiz and Jami and Iqbal and all that. So I was always #1 student. Once we were having this memorial for Faiz Ahmed Sahab, and Saad Khan was there. And I still remember that he went up on the stage, very petite demeanor, humble, with glasses and black hair, not even petite. He was like, at that point in time, I thought he was just a skeleton. And he would paint day in and day out. And he went to the dice and he showed his fingers, which had turned because of his painting. And he said, like, the formation was like the alphabets of Arabic, and it seemed like Allah, you know, the way they have turned. Then this incident I remember very clearly. With Gulji, we were having art exhibition at the school, and of course my paintings were out there displayed in the hall and the corridors, and I did this watercolor. I still remember Woman Weaver I did, and he stopped there. He did not stop at any other painting, and I was like so proud at that moment. He stopped there and he said, "Who did this?" So, you know, my teacher pointed out, this is her painting. And he said, "You are an artist." So, you know, at that tender age, to be recognized by Gulji was a huge thing. So, I mean, I'm all praise to Allah, but like it was an amazing, awe-inspiring moment for me. And I would never forget his face. And he was such a humble and such a simple man. One wouldn't know if he's moving around if you have no interest in artists. With Munni Begum, the same thing. She resided in the vicinity, and she would walk quite frequently to the you know, these small corner shops to get something or the other with her sister. And you know, the way she laughs and the human factor about it, no, nothing, no pride and no that I'm something, you know, the simplicity, the way they would interact with you.
Well, it's interesting to hear from you. Gulji appreciated your painting, and you told it was titled as Women Weavers.
Weaver.
And of course, in your poetry, if I can, as much as I remember, you have talked about women's feelings, their problems, and that's a very, very unique and fresh expression you have adopted. While in your poetry, it's not overwhelmed by cliched jargons, and it's also not like traditional woman who is just very submissive and something. It's a very balanced, real woman in which we can see in your poems. We can hear her voice, her feelings, and you have also touched upon what she thinks and what she feels, both. So, was it since very beginning that you were more focused on finding a voice of a woman in you, or it just happened over time?
I have always been a girl child and grew up as a woman, so I always had a voice. Yes, when I was reading lots of poets from Ghalib to Mir to the newer ones, the Badayuni, the Zauq, and then, you know, Faraz, and moving on to Parveen Shakir, Femida Riaz, Ada Jafri. And then from the West also, Emily Dickinson, Sylvia Plath, you know. What inspired me about all these people was the truth about themselves. And the truth about me is who I am, and I'm as equal a human being as any other person or gender on this on the face of this earth. It took me years to get published because I couldn't decide whether my voice is appropriate enough for the specific cultural reader. But when I did, I embraced it. I found myself in my loneliness. I found myself while I was traveling, looking around at the world, how I was being treated and how, you know, I was treated back home and how I was treated, you know, at a stranger's place. It was a very, very difficult decision, Arshad, to come out as truthfully, as honestly, with all the responsibility, because people read what they want to read.
Yes.
They do not know the backgrounds. Well, good enough, you know, let it be the mystery. But then reading the way you want to read is fine, but then passing out the judgments and criticizing was another thing as a family person, which I had to handle in the beginning. And now I think, you know, I'm assertive enough to make people understand that this is who I am. If you want to be associated, fine. If you do not want to be associated with me, that's fine also. It is very difficult in our culture to be who you are, even for a man,
Yeah.
so let alone being a woman. And then my poetry is, as you just said, it's multi-layered. It's not just focusing on one aspect of life, of love, of hate. Well, hate is nowhere in my poetry, but it does not stop at one thing. In one poem, you will find many insinuations. They could be cultural insinuation, they could be historical insinuation, there could be, all of a sudden I would just talk about the violence in the city, right? So as a human being, I think It goes on in everyone's thinking. It goes on in everybody's soul. The thoughts are all there. Just to compose them and to just put them out for the world, that is a big decision.
You just mentioned I lived in loneliness.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the title of your poems as well.
Yes.
So would you read it out for the viewers?
Yes, please. Thank you.
And then we'll discuss other things which we have just discussed, various themes, social issues in your poetry.
I found myself in loneliness. In that moment, my blood rushed. It despised yours. Odors unbearable. Seduction causing adrenaline rush. Incurable attraction, allegorical love. Acid donating proton and alternatively capable of forming a covalent bond. There is no lesson on the persuasion of love. Love doesn't leave you alone, nor you love. Accompanied by each other, alone no more.
Beautiful. It's one of my favorite poems.
Thank you.
Most of the poetry, even about women, was done by men in our society, right?
Yeah.
And then later on, most of the poetry written by women was also kind of influenced by the image as men wanted to see them. But yours is totally different, and it just tells very, very real, genuine feelings a woman may have, and any human being can have. So this is fantastic.
Thank you so much.
And maybe if you another poem you want to read out.
Okay. Affection is abstract. Never, since we first met, have you understood me? Asked he. No, at times I do, at others I don't want to, and mostly I don't. I live in the times that you do. He replied, I live in the times that you do. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
So, did you find any problems? I mean, there are a lot of problems in expression. I mean, we can't express what we are really thinking because of so many issues and taboos around. So did you find some challenges while you were writing poetry in early phase, and did you find some challenges to get published at that time as well?
Arshad, I've been writing since I was 14 years old, and everything which would hit me, I would write about it. That was myself in a notebook. I never thought of getting published at that moment in time. I did write a poem about Karachi, A Mother's Cry. That won an accolade also and was published also later in Dawn, but not the ones that you are talking about. I do not face any challenge while I'm writing because it's my own thing and I'm doing it. Yes, I do not find time sometimes, most of the time when I'm writing. I think all human beings have same feelings, be it a woman, be it a man.
Yeah.
And I do not know why we segregate them. And becoming a man's voice, for a woman to become seen through the lens of a man, is quite patriarchal. And I think this is high time that we identify not through genders but as human beings.
Yeah.
No? So yes, my husband said once, "Are you going to get this published?" And I said yes. And then our elder one, he said, you know, you should. He was the one who inspired me. So I sent my manuscript to two of the leading publishing agencies, and one simply said, we are not entertaining new poets, we do not publish poetry, but they did Fehmi Darya's translation in English. However, they told me so.
She's also a great
Yes,
poet. She's a wonderful poet.
kya baat, par
I'm a
main
huge
fehmi
admirer
Darya.
of her.
huge, and true to her words.
Yeah.
So I found another one and waited for 3 months for their reply. After 3 months, I was anxious. I wrote to them. I asked them, please let me know. So if you do not want to, I'll get on with another agency. And he said, no, just give us some more time. Our editor is working. So then, yes, ultimately, just in a second go, they accepted, and here I am reading. And
in your poetry, I have also seen that you have talked about social issues, environmental issues, and same I have seen in your articles and essays and columns you have written. One of your article I remember, it was about Quetta, and I remember it because I had same feelings about that city. I had a great, I became nostalgic when I was reading that, because I have seen cities transforming into different entities. I mean, those are peaceful cities, beautiful colorful mountains, lakes and waters, and now there have been so much constructions, so much violence, so much traffic, that they are just become different cities in our own age. So how did you, when you write, and most of your writings I have seen that you have touched these issues, and you have touched those issues in poetry as well, those are very relevant. So just I would like to hear from you, how do you see the world changing in front of us, becoming stranger in a way? It might be a universal reality, but anyway, this is our experience that things are changing in front of us. So a few words about that, if you could.
I've been an emophilist all my life. It also runs in the family. So I feel, especially in Pakistan, we are not developing newer cities. What we are doing is, whatever we have, we are exploiting it to the extent that we have destroyed them. Quetta is my honeymoon city. I got married and my husband was his first posting was Quetta. So we used to walk every day on Zarhon Road from one end to another, and it was full of huge trees, and the chirping of the birds and the squirrels running here and there, chinar, maple, and the weather was just amazing. Even during the hottest summer day, the evenings would be cold and the water would be cold, and Hanna and the Hurak, and going on to Ziyarat and all. And it has changed totally and completely.
And I have written about again with other cities of Pakistan too.
Yes. It's true for even Karachi, because while we were growing up and a school bus used to pick us up around 6:30 in the morning, the roads, the main roads like the PCHS area, the University Road and all, they were laid with amaltas flowers. They were literally, and there's no exaggeration in what I'm saying. I am very much in touch with the environment, with the climate change, with the mutation of animals. Especially, I've written in this epic poem for elephants. Elephant is born without tusks, so that's another species we are losing because of environmental change. This is a subject very close to us, and every year we try to plant as much as many trees and plants as we can. And I think literature should not be concentrated only about specific feelings of depression, anxiety, love, and this and that.
It should be everything about life.
Yes. Love is, literature is politics, literature is environment, literature is health, literature is everything around you. So embrace it and try to portray it as well as you can and as deep as you can, and so you can reach out as many readers and develop this conscious and conscious effort in people, so that
there's quite many new writers. Environment is their basic theme, and they keep this issue above everything else. You have written a long essay on Shakespearean women. You remember something, something specific
Okay.
which you would like to share with our viewers? What did you find? What were different aspects you explored? And then we'll also compare it with our society as well.
Okay, so with Shakespeare, it's very interesting. You know, on one hand, he's giving you a very submissive kind of a woman, and you're on the other hand, he's giving you Lady Macbeth and Cordelia,
Yeah.
and then he's giving you Juliet. You know, and
The
he's
submissive
giving
character, I think Ophelia you are referring
yes,
to.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. You know, from Hamlet,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then again in the same Hamlet, there's Gertrude,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, even Hamlet's own mother.
yes, yes. When I wrote the thesis for my master's, I was not that mature, I think. At that time and point, I thought that Shakespeare has treated women very patriarchally. But now when I read again and again, I feel Shakespeare has treated women as humans. They are as human as his male characters. You know,
Very interesting.
yes,
Very interesting.
yes. And I think that was the second wave of feminism in me,
Yeah. Okay.
right? So, you know, for example, in many of his characters, even Romeo, you know, he is not in charge. Juliet is,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So, if we are talking about women and feminism, I think he has treated very humanly, in a very justified manner, women and men as they are.
As they are, as they behave in
life
different,
is.
as life is, and
Yes.
as they behave in different situations.
Yes, as they were, yes.
Sometimes they may be very generous,
Yes.
sometimes they may be very greedy.
Yes.
For their own survival, they can take different.
Macbeth, Lady Macbeth.
Yeah.
Yes, just how conniving her character is. Then again, Cordelia, when she tells King Lear that when he asks, "How much do you love me?" and you know,
Yeah.
and what does she say?
You tell us.
Yeah, okay. she says as much as a daughter should, nothing more. He says, and she says no, nothing. So then he goes and he says, okay, then nothing would come out of nothing, because at that time he's distributing his wealth.
Yeah.
So, being very truthful here.
Yes.
And again, Lady Macbeth, all, you know, gaining and greedy and wanting. And then taming of the shrew, you know, for a man to tame a woman, excuse me, you know, and that was very actually jerked me. It's why would you like to tame anyone? If you do not like anyone, please do not live with them. And similar with Gertrude, and then Juliet takes charge and she takes the poison first, and you know, so on and so forth.
The poor Romeo had to die because she
Because
had
of
taken
Juliet. Why
poison
not?
first.
Once in a while, one should do that.
So, who are your favorite women writers and poets, if you would like to share?
Women.
At this point, and we
Okay.
can talk in general as well later.
Toni Morrison.
Ah, great.
Okay. I just love her work, and I love her voice. Femida Riaz, we've already talked about. Emily Dickinson. I just love her work. Then Sylvia Plath.
Yeah,
She takes my breath away.
she was a great
Yes, yes.
poet. Great poet.
Yes. And the stream of consciousness, even in her prose, not only in the poetry, but the stream of consciousness.
Beljar, you are mentioning?
Yes, Beljar. Then Virginia Woolf.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Then we have like if specifically Pakistani writers, then Hasina Moin we grew up with. So I always liked the role of the girl, the woman. In
Yeah,
her,
all her
in
plays were
yes,
women or
eccentric.
oriented. Yeah.
Yes, and they should actually life is women eccentric. Wouldn't you
Well, I
agree?
can't say
Yarshad?
anything, but I would like to hear from you, whatever you want to. Okay.
Okay, so
Well, you specialize on the subject. So.
I do not. Okay, so yeah, see, a woman gives birth, and what could be more life-centric than giving a birth. So this is how I see it. But of course, I see people as equal human beings, but at the same time, we do have our individualities, we do have our own characteristics, physical and biological requirements also. So yes, there are differences and they will remain so.
Of course.
But as far as the thoughts or the abilities or the thinking processes or the intelligence or the conclusions that we can make, or logical or illogical, both genders, and the third gender is also the same.
Generally, I mean, any writers, not specifically women, which you like, who you like most?
I cannot put a finger on one writer.
Yeah, of course.
Because they have inspired you in different ways.
It's personal. It's
yes,
personal.
It's personal.
Yeah. We're not critics
Garcia
to decide.
Marquez, Milan Kundera, Pablo Neruda, Elif Shafak, Orhan Pamuk. Then we have a huge. I'm a huge fan of Gods of Small Things. Arundhati Roy. I'm
beautiful language she has used. Wonderful language.
Yes. This I have to say. One can agree to disagree, but with women writers and poets, I have seen more truth and honesty and responsibility in their work and in their behaviors with women writers, and that inspires me. How passionate they are when Elif is talking about the war, when she's talking about some author's work, when Arundhati is doing so. You know, you are taken aback and you say, okay, this is it. This is what I wanted to hear at this point in time.
Incidentally, I am also an admirer of the same writers you just mentioned, and many more, of
course. Of course, many
we
more.
Can't compare. Yes. I mean, it's there are so many great writers. We can't just choose.
Yes.
So, tell us something about Leadlings. You run this group. You're a co-founder.
Yes.
And it arranges and organizes literary discussions and other things. If you could just share.
Okay, this is Arsalan Haneef's baby. It was his idea. My husband, Arsalan, when he took early retirement, he said to me, Madiha, we have taken a lot from Pakistan. The education, the job, the facilities that the government provided us and everything. So this is the time now, since the children have grown up a bit also, with your experience in education and my experience with the management and disbursement of finances, let us start this organization where we can help people identify themselves as who they are.
So we have talked on various issues and about your poetry as well. Maybe viewers would like to hear some more poems from you. So if you could read
that will
them
be
out.
an honor. Thank you so very much. This is a poem that I wrote on one of my travels to Sri Lanka, Ceylon. So please bear with it.
Oh no, we will love to hear it.
Thank you. Growing marshes. It is rain and cloud. Today I took out sandals I wore, sauntering on seashore, washing away the sorrow, growing marshes in the moor. Thought they were dry, divide of memories hereby, not telling upon you and I. Kelp on the reef has died. I tried to slip my feet inside. Specks of golden sand betrayed, glistening on the insoles chocolate.
Wow.
Grains caressing foot soles, gust of breeze cold, stinging, piercing, misting eyeballs, filling my nostrils with scents of sandalwood, warm spice, sweet yet strong. Love, dissident, old, this wind, this golden sand, hand me down. Look what I have brought back home. Look what I have brought back home.
Beautiful.
Thank you so very much. And then this is very close to my heart. It's called Wird. And you stay with me in the warmth of my breath, be the width of blood which encircles the heart in every wink that is and about to come, in every step which is taken and every step to come, every step which I held back in the melting of Sassy's raw pitcher
Wow.
and in Juliet's swallowing of poison, in knits and knots of painting, and in some forgotten words, in knits and knots of paintings, and some forgotten words. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Maybe we should also have hear from you a few words about your paintings. I can see that you have made sketches even in your poetry book as well, and you are perhaps going to start some art classes as well in Islamabad. So just share with us your paintings and if you have plans to do more paintings in future.
Painting is my first passion. I always wanted to have a degree in it, and I did have an undergrad in painting, and then I did pottery also at one point in time from US, making, cleaning and glazing and all that. My favorite medium is watercolor. You may ask why. I think it is one of the most difficult. One is stroke is the last stroke, one thing. Second, it's translucent, so you can see the paper through. So that inspires me a lot. The lucidity of watercolor also. I have been inspired by many artists. To just name the few: Rahi Sahab, Azar Zubi, Sadkian, big names. Then of course Gulji, and the Cubanism, Impressionism, and the great masters. Of course, you cannot deny the fact that they were the influence on you. But then I chose watercolor as my medium of expression and still life. I have been holding a lot of art classes in different organizations, especially as summer camps. Art shop is something which is very close to my heart, and the connection with the lot who is enthusiastic and want to learn is the greatest feeling that keeps you young and going. Recently, we offered classes at Alliance Française Islamabad. It's an art shop, and it's a 6 weeks course. We'll be teaching textile designing, wood etching and printing, and all the mediums. We'll be exploring from dry pastels to oil colors, and you name it, and we'll do it. Okay. So yes, we are keeping our fingers crossed for this venture also. Let's see how it works.
Thank you very much, Madiha, for being with us this evening.
Thank you for having me. I'm humbled, literally, Arshad, and it was a comprehensive talk, and yet unkahi reh gayi kuch baatein.
That should be like this.
Yes.
So thank you, viewers, for watching us. See you next Sunday, same time.